Assab Port, a small stretch of coastline on the Red Sea, could be the key to Ethiopia's trade, its economy, and its future. For decades, Ethiopia has been landlocked, relying on Djibouti for more than 90% of its imports and exports. But what if Ethiopia tried to take Assab by force? Would this solve Ethiopia's sea access problem, or would it unleash a war the Horn of Africa cannot afford? Today on Land of Origins, we explore the full story, from history to modern consequences, of what could happen if Ethiopia controls Assab by force. To understand the stakes, we need to go back. Eritrea was once part of Ethiopia, a region with shared history, culture, and struggle. After a 30-year liberation war, Eritrea became independent in 1993. But peace was fragile. By 1998, Ethiopia and Eritrea were at war over Badme and border disputes. This war lasted 2 years, killing over 70,000 people and displacing millions. Assab, as a Red Sea port, was a strategic point during that war, and it remains one of Eritrea's most valuable assets today. So when we talk about Ethiopia taking Assab by force, we are not talking about an easy move. We are talking about reopening wounds that have lasted for decades. Assab is more than just a port. It is a lifeline for Ethiopia. It is closer to Ethiopian industrial hubs than Djibouti. It could lower shipping costs dramatically. It could give Ethiopia control over its trade without foreign dependency. For Eritrea, Assab is a symbol of sovereignty and pride, and a source of income. Any attempt to capture it by force would challenge not just military defenses, but national pride. If Ethiopia tries to take Assab, the war would be fast and brutal. Eritrea has a small but highly trained army. Its troops are hardened by decades of mandatory service and desert warfare. Ethiopia has a larger army, but facing Eritrean resistance in difficult terrain, deserts and mountains would be extremely costly. Civilians would be the first to suffer, families fleeing towards Sudan and Djibouti, towns emptied, and thousands displaced within days. History teaches a harsh lesson. During the 1998-2000 war, both Ethiopia and Eritrea lost years of development, trade routes collapsed, and families were torn apart. Even when battles ended, resentment and mistrust lingered for decades. A new conflict over Assab could reignite the same cycle, turning a strategic port into a symbol of destruction. War is not just about soldiers. Food shortages would affect millions. Hospitals could collapse under pressure. Children, women, and the elderly would suffer the most. Refugee crises would grow, impacting neighboring countries like Sudan and Djibouti. Even if Ethiopia gains physical control of Assab, human suffering would make the victory hollow. Taking Assab by force would be extremely costly economically. Trade disruption. Djibouti may block or restrict Ethiopian goods. Inflation. Prices for food and fuel could skyrocket. Investor withdrawal. Foreign investors could flee, freezing development projects. Sanctions. Ethiopia could face targeted sanctions, isolating it further from global markets. Even controlling the port might not bring any real economic gain. If ships refuse to dock, goods cannot move, and the world condemns the action. The world would respond quickly. The United Nations and African Union would condemn the attack. Major powers could impose sanctions and diplomatic pressure. Neighboring countries would increase military readiness, fearing the conflict could spill across borders. Assab might become a war zone rather than a port, and Ethiopia could be trapped in a long-term occupation with high costs and low benefit. Even if Ethiopia captures Assab, it will lose far more than it gains. Peace and regional stability, human lives and livelihoods, economic growth and development, international respect and alliances. History shows that violence solves nothing in the Horn of Africa. The real solution lies in diplomacy, dialogue, and shared prosperity. Imagine Ethiopia and Eritrea working together. Ethiopia uses Assab peacefully through an agreement or lease. Eritrea earns revenue and strengthens ties with its neighbor. The Horn of Africa becomes a hub of trade, industry, and cooperation. This is real victory, a future where both nations benefit, and war is no longer an option. If Ethiopia takes Assab by force, it might win a port, but lose its future, its economy, and its peace. Borders can be taken by weapons. But prosperity can only be built by trust and cooperation. The real question is, will Ethiopia and Eritrea choose peace before the next war begins? If you care about the future of the Horn of Africa, share this video. Let more people understand the real cost of war and the value of peace. Subscribe to the Land of Origins official for more untold history, analysis, and stories from Ethiopia and the Horn of Africa.